Hello there, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, survivor, and advocate. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we're heading into a very intriguing topic that I am so passionate about. And I've been thinking about it for quite some time now, and I really wanted to take a deep dive into spirituality. And so today's topic is a question, and then my own spiritual journey, and so many different things I'm going to share with you, including 10 signs that you are spiritually awakening. So we're going to talk about the correlation between narcissistic abuse, toxic ties, and spiritual awakening. And so many people along their pathway of doing the hard work of healing, especially after having very dysfunctional families, abuse, trauma, narcissistic abuse, toxic siblings. Perhaps you were married to a narcissist or someone quite violent and abusive at one time, and you have found yourself on a beautiful, transformative spiritual journey. If so, you came to the right place today. And so we're going to take a deep dive into spirituality. And so I'm very curious to start with, have you been involved in any form of toxic relationship, perhaps with a narcissist or someone else, and it puts you directly onto this new pathway of spiritual enlightenment? So I'm very curious about that. Have you ever heard of this term? It's called soul murder. And so on Twitter, many times while I'm sharing different things about narcissistic abuse, I've had people say to me, well, this is soul murder. And I just was kind of like, whoa, this is getting super deep now, because soul murder sounds extremely soul crushing. And I can really understand and accept that narcissistic abuse in any form of like child abuse, sexual assaults, domestic violence, they're insidious. It really does run deep to the core, of our being. It doesn't just impact us physically, emotionally, and mentally, and even relationally, but it also deeply impacts us spiritually. And so I wanted to put a little FYI just to start right off the bat, that when I talk about a spiritual enlightenment or spiritual awakening, I'm not referring to organized religion nor the church. So there's a big difference between organized religion and spirituality. It is like night and day. They are so different. And each person can have a different belief system. So when we talk about spirituality, how I feel about it and what I think it means could be something very different for you. Because remember now, each of us come from a very different upbringing, a different background, a different belief system, different values and unique perspectives on soul growth and on spirituality. And so for some people who might be deeply enmeshed with religion, very traditional religion, this may not even be something you're open to. You might be so entangled with what you were taught at one time or through many decades, and you might not be at a place where you are even open to a spiritual awakening, because this might take you down an entirely different pathway with whole new dynamics, new belief systems, and you may have sometimes, you may have such deep ties to organized religion, and you have been taught a certain thing, that there are some people who are not ready for spiritual enlightenment because they're so deeply ingrained. A lot of people have been in religious cults. I see on Twitter all the time this. It is like every day people are talking about abuse and church abuse, religion abuse, toxic faith, and how they left rigid, organized religion. Now, we're not going to get into that today, and really that's just between you and your higher power, God, Jesus, whoever you want to call it. And remember now, when we're talking about spirituality, for everyone, we see this so differently. So if I say something about spirituality, remember, for each person, it could mean something different. So one person, to them, it might be God. To another person, no, it might be the universe. It might be a creator. It might be a higher power. It might be something that I didn't even discuss yet. So we're not going to really go in that direction unless maybe at another day you want to go into that. But today we really want to focus on a spiritual awakening, especially for those of us who have either A, we went gray rock with a narcissist or a toxic family unit, or B, we went no contact with one or more narcissistic people and family members, etc., etc. And so let's start talking now about, hey, what is a spiritual awakening? And so a spiritual awakening, according to wakeupworld.com, quote unquote, they said, when we undergo a spiritual awakening, we literally wake up to life. We question our old beliefs, habits, and social conditioning, and we see that there is more to life than what we have been taught. And so I really am in agreement with that. When we take a deep dive into spirituality, we see things that we may not have ever been taught. And we see things in a new light. And it is such a profound experience. So today I am going to first share with you my personal experience with my spiritual awakening. And then I'm going to speak to you and teach you about the 10 signs that you may personally be experiencing a spiritual awakening. And so keep in mind that for everyone it could look a little bit different, but overall we're going to, examine this, talk about this, and then we could take all of our questions and thoughts and belief systems and personal experiences into the comments. And thank you so much for sharing your own spiritual journey. So when I really started examining and reflecting on, okay, when do I really believe that I had this amazing spiritual transformation, this big shift? I could definitely say that it began in 2016 and it worked its way through 2018. So I had these years where I had this gradual shift in my conscious reality. So there were things that started cropping up and crossing my path, these divine appointments with certain people, the right people at the right time for the right purpose. And it was such an amazing thing in which slowly I started to build new awareness about my own soul growth. And I started to see that, you don't need to be sitting in a pew at a brick and mortar building to spiritually grow, that this is possible just one-on-one, you and the higher source, you and God, you and a higher creator, a higher power, what have you. And remember, for you, it could be totally different. And so I had this gradual shift and I started expanding myself. I started taking a deep dive into, what does this mean to me? And in which then, there were some people who might think, oh my goodness, she's having a faith crisis. And here's the truth about that. No. When I really did start reflecting and examining and analyzing what I was going through and the experience I had, starting in 2016 and even like today, it was not a faith crisis. It was not at all that. Instead, I was truly awakening to my core essence of who I was designed to be. I started to understand that my soul mission in life is so much more than what I ever imagined, what I ever fathomed. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And to know that I am not just a physical body having a spiritual experience, but I am a spiritual being having a physical experience here on earth in our universe. And this nudged me to release old religious belief systems, religious dogma, different things regarding legalism and hypocrisy. I had to unlearn false teachings in order to embrace my true self and to walk in my destiny for who I have been created to be right here, right now, this very moment. And so in 2018, there was, this big implode, in the family unit. And after undergoing decades and decades, I'm talking 50 plus years, people, of psychological abuse, of manipulation, of gaslighting, smear campaigns, child abuse, child neglect, narcissistic abuse, toxic siblings, and on it went. In 2018, after coming to the conclusion that yes, my mother was a malignant narcissist, and yes, I really did have very, very toxic, jealous siblings, I hit rock bottom. And so during this timeline, I went full no contact with each member of my birth family, and this became a very dark, lonely, isolating time in my life. And so what made it more painful was that my narcissistic mother started hoovering me, baiting me, provoking me, gaslighting me. She kept calling me, and she disrespected my healthy boundaries. So I made it clear, hey, I'm going no contact. I'm just not going to do this anymore, people. I'm just not going to continue this three-ring circus. It is extremely unhealthy, unstable. It's pure insanity. And it was time to jump off that rocky road. And so that's what I did. And what happened was I started realizing that this was a major fork in the road where I felt my soul ushering me onto a totally different pathway. And it might have been a bit intimidating, a bit scary, but on the same token, it was very, very exciting. It was refreshing. And I knew what I knew. There's times that some of us people who are empaths, compassionate, and highly sensitive people, we have what's called a knowing. This knowing is, we might not know what's ahead of us. We might not know what the answers are. We might not know what is going to happen when we get down the road, say in a month or two. But there's this knowing that we are exactly where we are meant to be, and we trust it. We trust it within our gut. We trust that this is exactly where we're meant to be. And so what happens is sometimes when you hit that rock bottom moment with the narcissist or with any kind of domestic violence, any kind of abuse, toxic relationships, you can have what's called the dark night of the soul. And so I started experiencing this especially in 2018. So the dark night of the soul is a term that is typically used to describe a period of time of spiritual transformation. And it can be heavy, it can be suffocating and draining and unbearable, and it can include suffering. So I'll be the first to admit, no, the dark night of the soul doesn't feel good. I guarantee you, when you hit rock bottom, when you realize like your mother or your father or your siblings, or maybe for you it was a boyfriend or an intimate partner or a spouse who is the narcissist or who is disrespecting you, they're gaslighting you, they're manipulating you, and it is such a psychologically abusive environment for you, you could end up going through the dark night of the soul. So it is when your soul is actually wrestling with your ego. Simply stated, your ego must die for your soul to thrive. And there could be this battle going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We have what's called pride, and our ego can really rear its ugly head with pride. And there are times we need to do what I call sweet surrender. Release the ego, release the pride, release having to always be right, release having to have the last word. Instead, sweet surrender is saying, I'm going to detach from these unhealthy relationships and all these negative energetic vibrations that are going on around me, especially negative people. And I'm going to surrender to what the universe has to me, surrender to how my soul is evolving and it's aligning into the person who I am meant to be. And I am leaving this toxicity and heading into this beautiful new chapter for expansion and transformation. So it is a profound experience, and I think that it's an incredible thing that we go through. It's something where the dark night of the soul, it's not happening to harm you, to hurt you, okay? What it's really doing is putting you in alignment to your soul mission in life to teach you valuable lessons, to give you wisdom, to give you discernment, to help you as long as you are open and willing to receive it. So our ego is sometimes getting in the way, and our soul is saying, surrender, surrender, detach from negative energy, detach from pride, and instead become humble, have humility. Start learning to tune in to what your gut is telling you to do and to surrender everything. And when we come to sweet surrender and we have this detachment, we can really find peace of mind. Even if there are some potholes in the road, even if we have this amazing uphill climb, it feels like we're climbing a mountain and it's exhausting and it's draining. But boy, oh boy, we are doing what our soul is asking us to do. And that is to be open and willing to expand ourselves and transform ourselves, to not stay the same, to not be stuck in old toxic dynamics and old false belief systems. So there's a lot of beauty in the transformational journey. So this led me onto this wonderful journey of soul growth. So it drastically shifted my old beliefs, my perspectives, and my entire life. It changed all of my relationships. You know, once you have an experience with a narcissist, boom, you could spot narcissistic people and toxic energy far away, even if they're at a distance, even if it's someone on social media, just by what they say to you and the vibrations that you're sensing from them. When you're really, really in tune to the negative energy around you, you could sense when someone is very, very low vibrational negative energy. And so we detach from them. We don't respond to them. We don't argue with them. We don't fight with them. We don't explain ourselves. We simply bless and release, bless and release. Adios, we say. And so it's not coincidental that I began experiencing supernatural signs everywhere I went. I started seeing all these signs like boom, 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 one after the other. It was synchronicity at its best, a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I had minor and major synchronicities, and it included seeing red cardinals, hawks, morning doves, butterflies, rainbows. I started having vivid dreams. I started having visions in a waking state and seeing reoccurring numbers such as the number 111 and 333s. Whew, such an amazing thing, because when there is this synchronicity and you see these divine signs and you're open to it, number one, you have to be open to it. If you're closed-minded and you're like, no, I don't believe in that. No, I don't believe in that. Oh, no, that can't happen. You know, there are some people, they're very closed, narrow-minded people, and they're engulfed in being reprogrammed by our society. So if you are in that situation, you may miss all these beautiful blessings. You may miss all these divine signs. And so, you know, the number one step of experiencing supernatural experiences, divine signs, and having a spiritual awakening is that you don't resist it. You actually surrender to it. And you say, yes, yes, I will. Yes, I will expand myself. Yes, I will walk in my true essence. Yes, I will be a truth seeker. Yes, I will be open to learning something new. Even if back in the days, 20 years ago, I was taught not to do that. I was taught, oh no, you can't do that. Oh my gosh, you can't go down that road. Oh, that's witchcraft. There's so much BS online about spirituality and how people are claiming false things. But we have to understand that when we trust our gut instinct and when we know that there's a still small voice within us and we are listening and tuning into it, we have to understand it has our highest, best interest for us. And to never, never, never think that someone knows something better for you. You know what's best for you. It's your life. It's not their life. What's right for them might not be right for you. So always, always pay attention to your gut instincts. Trust yourself. Next would be that I thought it was really intriguing that after my father passed away in 2019, that I had some very, very intriguing experiences that were very spiritual. And for some people, you know, they might not be open to that, but I know that if you found me here today, there's a good chance that you are open to spirituality and that you're open to what I'm ready to share with you. We have to know there's no judgment on my channel. This is a sacred space, very sacred space right here. No judgment. And for anyone who does have harsh judgment on things I share, then this channel's not for you. And it's fine that you just move on to something else that might be in alignment with you and your own belief system. I know that a lot of people have found me though, because what I talk about is spot on for them. You know, I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people share with me every day how much my story resonates with them. And that is why I'm stepping out today to share with you about my spiritual journey. And so back in 2019, I was at a park with my husband. We're walking along the pathway. It was a sunny, beautiful day, just gorgeous out. The birds are chirping and singing, and I'm in my happy place out in nature, and there was water surrounding us, and it was just really a gorgeous experience. But all of a sudden, when I crossed this one point where you could overlook the entire lake, I saw a little tiny rainbow up in the sky, and it looked like a prism. It had beautiful colors of like red, yellow, green, blue, orange, but it was small. It wasn't like a big rainbow that you would see on a rainy day. You know how on a rainy day, maybe after it rained or somewhere in that timeline, a rainbow appears. No, it was not raining. So I was mystified, like, why am I seeing this? Oh my goodness, what's going on? Because, you know, when it's sunny out, we're not expecting a rainbow. So number one, that caught my attention, like something abnormal that I didn't expect. And then there it is in front of my eyes, and my husband and I observe it. So intrigued and really in awe, I decided to snap a few pictures. And so when we left the park, I had gone online and shared on social media several of these pictures, and boom, just like that, I started receiving private messages from a few of my friends. And what they said to me literally had me in tears. So I was in tears. I was literally bawling my eyes out. It was so touching. It was so touching. And it was remarkable. So these friends of mine are very spiritual people and very enlightened souls. And they said to me, Dana, are you aware there's an angel in the sky next to that little rainbow? And I read this on these two messages, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I hurried up and I went to my camera and I checked these images. And you know how you get your fingers and then you enlarge the image on your cell phone of the picture? So that's what I did, because I needed to see this for myself. And lo and behold, there was an angel in the sky. And it was next to this prism, this beautiful tiny rainbow. And I just was in awe. I couldn't believe what I saw. And my one friend continued sharing with me. And she said, I sense this is your father. This angelic form is your father's spirit. He's visiting you. And he's giving me a message to give to you. Your father said he loves you. He understands the situation that happened back in 2018, why you were in a position where you had to go no contact with him due to the toxic family dynamics. Your dad says, I love you. I forgive you. You are beautiful. And so it was such an amazing thing. And like I said, it was so emotionally touching that I really did, respond with tears. There are times when you do experience divine signs, whether it was an angelic encounter, whether it was at the right time, someone crossed your path and gave you a divine word message, for the day. There are times people will speak into us light and love and discern what they believe is happening. And so for me, that was really significant and really extra special. And I am a deep believer in angelic encounters. This wasn't my first one. I've had others in my lifetime. And I just think it's the most incredible thing on earth. So other than that, I really believe that when we are open to whether it is God, the universe, a higher power, etc., we could really experience light and love that is given to us from something that is a part of the higher power. In the Bible, it's all over the place about angels. And so I am a bit mystified when people say they don't believe in this. I don't want to get deep into anything religious, so we're going to kind of steer clear of that. But I do believe that there are some of us that have spiritual gifts, and some of us have that intuitive gift. Some of us are so empathic, highly sensitive people. We have the knowing before we see it, before we hear it. There are many experiences in my life where I did experience premonition. I do share that in several of my books. And I think, again, it's an incredible experience. I'm blessed. I am absolutely humbled and honored that I have been chosen to have these special spiritual gifts. And it is something I don't take for granted. It is something that I truly, truly believe is a blessing in my life and to be used for something positive, especially for people who are hurting souls who need healing, health, and hope. And so my spiritual awakening prompted me to listen to that soft voice within me, to trust myself, to trust my gut instincts, and to trust the things that didn't make sense. Because trust me, when there's an angel in the sky, that doesn't make sense on the physical realm. But on a spiritual realm, it can make very good logical sense. So we have to understand that our world has this very interesting, alignment where it's almost like there's the universe, there's Earth, our planet, our world, things that we see with our eye. And then there is the spiritual realm, which is a thin veil between the physical world. And we have to understand, there are souls that do visit us. There are our deceased relatives who may give us signs. And you might end up seeing constantly 555 on your clock all the time, 555. You might see 111. You might see a specific thing that this deceased person and you had special together. So for one person, maybe it's a blue jay. Maybe another person, it's a ladybug. Maybe for someone else, it's a monarch butterfly. So be it. It's a beautiful thing. Consider that a blessing for you. Let's move on to something else that I experienced. So last year in July 2020, my mother passed away. I'm real frank, I'm real open and honest and very authentic and transparent about how hard of a relationship I had with her. And then in 2018, I was no contact and that I needed to rescue my own self. I consider it a soul rescue. This word soul rescue was put on my heart back in around 2019. And it was around the time when I felt led by God to write my book, Soul Cry. And soul rescue is something that I feel I'm still being nudged to write that book. Haven't done it yet. Thought about it, prayed about it, using a lot of wisdom because timing is everything. And right now I'm in the midst of school to become a certified trauma recovery coach. and this is my focus, this is my priority. But someday I may pick up that idea and run with it and write that book, Soul Rescue. Because when it comes to spiritual awakening, at the root of it, we are being nudged to rescue our own soul. And so I really believe that after my mom passed away, my soul had something special for me, and it wanted me to see this, and it wanted me to experience this because it had a higher good and a better interest for me. It wanted me to heal the soul wounds, the trauma wounds, the narcissistic abuse, the childhood neglect and abuse. There was so much that I really believe that my soul and a higher power really, truly wanted me to heal from. And I believe that's why I had this dream. I believe this was something that was very spiritual. So I'm going to share it with you. So after my mother died, about a week or so later, I had this dream where I was in the backyard of the home that I grew up in. And in my dream, I was with my sisters, and none of us were really talking. We were standing maybe a couple feet away from each other, but we're in the center of the backyard. And all of a sudden, my sisters kind of faded away. They weren't really anymore a big part of my dream. And now it's me standing in my backyard. And all of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds of monarch butterflies are flying all around me. So hundreds of them. And I'm like, wow, in awe, incredibly amazing to experience this. And so in my dream, instantly, I sensed that my deceased mother was sending me monarch butterflies because she wanted to make peace with me. And so at first I didn't see her. So physically, her body was not visible. But spiritually, I sensed, like, from a soul level, meaning my soul and her soul, I knew that her soul was present. Her spirit was with me. And I was very aware of that. And then just like that, I could see her physical body. She looked younger. She looked healthier. My mother's a beautiful person. This is making me cry. My mother's a beautiful person. And I love my mother. And in this dream, she came to me. She put her arms around me. She wrapped her arms around me. And she hugged me. And she embraced me. And in this dream, her soul, non-verbally. So it wasn't that she verbally said anything to me. It was almost like, again, this inner knowing. Intuitively, I knew that her soul was saying to my soul, I love you. I'm so sorry for hurting you. Will you forgive me? I love you unconditionally. I want to be here for you. I'm sending you these beautiful monarch butterflies as a token of my love for you, as a gift to you, to let you know that I am okay. I am in a better place. And I am here because I want you to heal. I want you to be in a better place. And so I started crying and crying in my dream. And then I woke up. And as I woke up, the tears are just literally streaming down my face. And I am just an emotional shipwreck. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, this wasn't just any ordinary dream. This was so lifelike. It felt so real. It felt so real. And so I really believe that this was a spiritual experience. I believe that it was God ordained, that your soul knows what your soul needs. And so it will bring it to you, whether it's through the universe, whether it's God, whether it's the creator, whether it's a higher power or something else. Your soul knows what it needs. And it will find a way to offer this to you. And I accepted that dream as a gift, as a beautiful, beautiful gift. And after that dream, I started having more dreams of being at peace with my mother. And, you know, it's a bit challenging when you're trying to recover from trauma and child abuse and neglect and narcissistic abuse. So you're like almost in a battle where physically you or might be battling, you know, but she did this to me and I'm so angry and I'm so hurt and I'm so traumatized. And my goodness, I'm dealing with complex PTSD and compounded trauma. And there's so much work involved with recovering. But then my soul is like saying and nudging me, forgive her, love her, heal, give yourself this gift, understand that spiritually, you are on a new path, and this path is to expand. It is to transform. It is to become a more compassionate, empathic, authentic, vulnerable person who could be a healing balm for other hurting souls. And so I really do accept this as my soul mission in life, that I am a healer. I am here on earth to help others heal. I'm going to jump into now the 10 signs that you are spiritually awakening. So number 1, you may desire to know your purpose for being here on earth. Number 2, you start soul searching, which involves a process of introspection. Number 3 is you are more aware of the toxic people and toxic energies around you, and it's draining you, and you don't want any part of it. You're no longer engaging in these toxic behaviors and energies. Number 4 is you do experience the dark night of the soul, and you may go through a very lengthy, dark stage of suffering, and it can be very grueling, heavy stuff, but you do the hard work and you move through it. And then you get to the other side, and that is the side of healing. Next is you crave for inner peace, solitude, and being in nature. You just feel something within you that you want to be outdoors. You want to be near the birds and the trees and the flowers and the water. And water itself is so healing. It's so cleansing. And next would be number 7, that you could have a drastic shift in your perspectives and your past beliefs. Number 8, you experience heightened intuition. There could be an inner knowing of certain things, even though you may not have seen it or heard it with your eyes and ears. Next would be number 9, you step into your authentic, transparent self and become a truth seeker. And number 10, you may experience divine signs, synchronicities, visions, dreams, supernatural phenomena, and major transformations in your life. So if you have been in a toxic relationship, whether it was a narcissist or someone else, did you personally go through a spiritual awakening? Are you in the midst of it right now? If so, please share in the comments your experiences, your story. Let's keep this discussion going. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and you can visit me at DanaArcuri.com. Thank you and have a beautiful day.